So Bitcoin is now actually at 30K by the time I'm making this video. And we have this every single year that crypto will go up and Bitcoin will hit 100K. But this was also like previous year by the time I'm making this video.
What the fuck?
And what we need to understand is that Bitcoin is expressed in dollars. As you can see, the US national debt is going up. The whole world is bigger than the US, but most of the cryptocurrencies are traded in the US. So what happens in the USA happens everywhere else. The dollar has been dispatched from the gold from 1971. If we see this video, the principles for dealing with a changing world order, and we go a little bit further, in this video, it says how financial bubbles exist. The country is doing very good. Eventually, a lot of loans, a lot of debt, money printing, that's where we are. And then everything goes collapse. And then we need a new currency or a new system.
Let's now look at the typical sequence of events going on inside a country that produces these rises and declines. In a nutshell, the big cycle typically begins after a major conflict, often a war, establishes the new leading power and the new world order. Because no one wants to challenge this power, a period of peace and prosperity typically follows. As people get used to this peace and prosperity, they increasingly bet on it continuing. They borrow money to do that, which eventually leads to a financial bubble. The empire's share of trade grows, and when most transactions are conducted in its currency, it becomes a reserve currency, which leads to even more borrowing. At the same time, this increased prosperity distributes wealth unevenly, so the wealth gap typically grows between the rich haves and the poor have-nots. Eventually, the financial bubble bursts, which leads to the printing of money and increased internal conflict between the rich and the poor, which leads to some form of revolution to redistribute wealth. This can happen peacefully or as a civil war. While the empire struggles with this internal conflict, its power diminishes relative to external rival powers on the rise. When a new rising power gets strong enough to compete with the dominant power that is having domestic breakdowns, external conflicts, most typically wars, take place. Out of these internal and external wars come new winners and losers. Then the winners get together to create the new world order. And the cycle begins again.
We need a new currency or a new system. Like in the French Revolution, it happened from one day to another. And now we actually plan to do a soft landing. But this is something good for us because we can see it coming. If you see the first Genesis block of Bitcoin, this is exactly the reason why Bitcoin was created. As you can see here, the main title is Israel is attacking Gaza. Just kind of ironic because the US is sponsoring billions to a genocide. Well, let's not go into that. But also, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. In a capitalistic system, if something is not doing good, it should be gone. But in this case, yeah, are we living in a totally capitalistic system, or have you been told stuff that you just believe in? Because outside of the US, not everyone is full into capitalistic mode. And a lot of those people are, in general, less in debt and healthier than most people in the US. If you see here, this billionaire, Michael Saylor, he has a lot of Bitcoin, so he might be biased, but he explains very good why the world currencies are collapsing. And all the links I've actually put down in the link below as a one tap. But also why a digital currency like Bitcoin can accomplish so much that people in the past could not do. Like El Salvador, for example, they accomplished more in 3 weeks in the last 300 years with banking just by going digitally instead of physically. If you look at Bitcoin now, it's over 30K by the time I'm making this video. And if we are going to to scale out, it started in 2009, a little bit up, and then there's a huge bump, and here and there some dumps. But that's how cyclical cycles work. At the time of making this video, we are waiting for this. That might happen in the first half of 2024, because then the halving event will skyrocket. I'm not going to explain in all detail. You can watch this video so you can understand where it comes from. But you also have to understand that you have a double-sided sword, because we also have Tether that might collapse. And that would dwarf the FTX cryptocurrency. At the time I'm making this video, Binance is also considering to collapse. Some other exchanges will collapse, and stock exchanges will collapse. So please be careful, because 2023 might be a little bump, and then 2024 will be a ride, and in 2025 you have to sell everything and never look back. That's exactly what the scammer Alex Becker has been doing as well and telling. So you can watch more of his video over there, because I tell a lot of stuff that he is doing, because he is a serious scammer as well. And he tells you exactly how he scams you, which is actually kind of noble. This guy has been called by the Bitcoin developer as a scammer. So Ethereum will also crash, even though a lot of people say Bitcoin and Ethereum. But Ethereum has changed so much, because first it was decentralized, then it got centralized, then it got staking, and then now they changed the whole monetary policy. So they are committing a securities fraud that will be going out in public soon. He doesn't differ any much from Do Kwon, from Terra Luna, which got caught, and the coin was the top 10 currency. It went to zero in a week. So everything can happen. And also, you have Charles Hoskinson from Cardano, which will also have a useless coin soon. Other billionaires who are just scamming and rug pulling, Mark Cuban. So Bitcoin is actually the only thing that will last in the future. And if you want to know more about Bitcoin, you can watch his video, or you can also watch playlists that are created right here.